What's up? What's up? What's up? We got Malichi and Malay, and we got a special guest here, Mayor Joe Preston on the Same T podcast.
Well, thank you, Malichi. It's great. It's been a little while since we've got to talk. So.
Yeah, we did a couple podcasts a while ago, but you know what? I always wanted you to come back, but the issue, COVID came.
Oh, I know, and then nobody could do anything.
Exactly.
And I've been busy. Life has been good. There's a whole lot going on, so we got a lot to share.
Absolutely. Okay. So what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna start off a little bit differently this time, right? I want to go back to Joe Preston when he was about, like 12 years old. Okay. Now, did you always want to be a politician?
Absolutely not. I was a young lad with a lisp. I was as shy as a guy could be.
Mm-hmm.
But I started to take some speech lessons, and at about 12 years old, I asked for a tape recorder one Christmas so that I could practice speech, and got it, and did. And that turned me into, then I entered a lot of like public speaking contests, or I started to act, and it really brought me out, right? I was always a bit of the class clown, so the comedy side was there.
Okay.
But once I got over the shyness and taught myself to speak without a lisp, I became far less shy. I say it now. Yeah, I've got over my shyness. I'm okay now. And so that's where it came from. I think the politics side of me came from my mom and dad. They made us at dinner talk about current events. And even at a young age, we talked about what was going on in the world. And I think that those types of conversations with my brothers and sisters and mom and dad caused more of the awareness of what's going on in the world, or certainly in the country or in the area from a politics point of view. So I was always interested. It's a sport to me. I love watching other people's politics.
Okay.
Right. Okay. But but part of it came, and you and I think have had this conversation, came through an altruistic thing. I thought I was already a community involved business person in our community and did a lot of things. And somebody came up to me and said, "Hey, why don't you run?"
Oh.
I said, "Ron, have you seen the size of me?" But it turned into, I thought that was another step towards being able to help my community. And it really has turned into that. 20 years later, 2004, I ran the first time federally and was elected as a member of parliament, and really haven't stopped since. I think there's been 6 elections since then in some way. So,
and you haven't lost any of them, right?
No, I've never lost one. I'm not looking forward to that first one. I've seen the faces of people who didn't win in some of my elections. And I've often said, I don't want to look like that.
Okay. So how old were you when you?
I was 49 when I first ran federally.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
49.
Well, 69 this year, 20 years later. So,
okay. Yeah. So when you're running federally, right? Like you're saying, your parents, I guess, more so helped you in that realm, or at least put you in that mentality.
Well, at least made me pay attention to what was going on in our country and our province and in our municipality. And so, federal politics, when I was asked, it was I think by then I had become a conservative. I don't think I started there, perhaps, but most people in business end up there in some way.
Okay.
And they are the ones who came and asked me would I run for them, and so that was a good fit. If it had been someone else, I might have said no and never done it. But
so conservative. So therefore, I'm assuming you grew up in like a Christian, or at least Christian background. Or
yes,
like that, right?
And still, and have probably even developed that Christianity through my life. So
so how would you equate or compare Christianity and politics? Could they coexist between the two?
Look, I think of Christianity and religion as being moral, about doing the right things and working hard to help people that need help. Well, I think that can transfer to politics in a big way. Certainly municipal politics, I've found that this is about really helping people who need help in a community. And so, look, I'm not extremely outgoing about my Christianity, but I don't hide it. I believe, and I believe I traveled the world and got to do a lot of lovely things as a member of parliament, but my mission is in St. Thomas. So I've come home to do that mission, and it works for me.
And we'll get to that a little bit later. Still touching on the Christianity part, have you ever come to a point where you might have to do something um, that let's say the government is saying, okay, you know what, this is what we're going with, but yet your faith is somehow being conflicted.
Yeah, I saw that in the federal parliament. In our caucus, we often talked about some issues that weren't certainly political, but whether it was in the day same-sex marriage or abortion questions. But I had a great prime minister who said, "Look, you can always vote your conscience, whichever way you want to, or you can abstain from voting on it if it's not a critical political issue, and you want to do that, you can do that." We had free votes on things that weren't in the platform, and things like that were never in the platform. Okay. So there's often many people have a fervent background against abortion or something, and they would always want it to be brought back up. And we said, well, this is kind of a settled issue, right? Why don't we not do that to ourselves? But no, okay, but it's your thing. If it came forward as a private member's bill, wasn't the party putting forward the legislation, then we had our choice as to how we would react to that. I mean, I remember one of the first conversations I had with the prime minister was, there's a couple things from my riding that are pretty big, agriculture being one of them. And at the time, we grew most of Canada's tobacco. That wasn't a popular stance across the country, right?
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And I said, he said, "Joe, that's your riding. If something comes up that you stand tall on it." Right? And so it's really anything. It could be any piece of legislation. He said, but if it's contrary to something we've put in a platform and you ran for us wearing that uniform, then we'd expect you to vote with us on the platform, right? But it's not everything is that cut and dried. So it's you go talk and you say, "Look, I'm not sure about this one. I think this will affect people in my riding negatively." Whether it's a raise in taxes, we never did raise tobacco taxes while I was there, but that might have been a decision I would have had to say, wait, that's not probably what we should do.
Yeah.
Well, instead, we helped a number of people get out of the tobacco business, which I thought was a great move, and so voted for all of that. So,
Interesting. I never realized you could actually, you don't have to. I guess
you don't have to wear the uniform every day, right? Correct. And Wednesday mornings at caucus, when you're just in there with just your fellow members of parliament from your party, you have open, good conversations. But when that door opens and you go back out, you better know how you're going and which way the party is going. It is the parliamentary democracy that is Canada, right? Sends good people from ridings to Ottawa. And the party that sends the most of them gets to pick the prime minister. So I mean, too many people compare us to the United States model, where you vote for the president. We don't. I knocked on many doors in my time with Prime Minister Harper as the prime minister, and they said, "Well, we like you, Joe, but we don't really like your boss."
Yeah.
So, well, that's fantastic. If you're not in Calgary West, you don't get to vote for him. You have to vote for Joe Preston. If you want to send strong people to help Stephen Harper be a better prime minister, then you get to pick the people in your riding and send them on to do that, right?
And so you ran federally for how long?
4 times: 2004, 2006, 2008, and 2000. I left in 15, so 2010 or late in 2010.
Okay, so from 2015 until 2018, there was a break.
Because I went back to I'll say I retired from politics to try and save my marriage. I went back to my businesses to try and make sure that part of my life was still going well.
Yeah.
And I retired.
Okay.
And it just about killed me. Doing nothing. Right? Trying to retire, right? So I had to find, well, what does that mean now? Well, what's my next life after Parliament? I drastically missed being in Parliament. It was a great place to be and a great job to have. And then about 150 of my closest friends came and said, "You better run for mayor." Right? And as I said, I've always been reasonably community aware, and I recognized, as you did at the same time, there was some things that needed to happen. And I wasn't happy with the way the city was going. I didn't want to have to take it on. And because I'd seen how the council there had worked not with itself very well. I said, look, I can do this. All right, I will. Right. And I really, honestly, I think I probably even shared with you during that first campaign, I'm only doing this for one term. That's a 4-year term. That'll be enough.
I remember you saying that, but it's the second term now.
Well, I'm in the second term now, 2 years into it. And honestly, Stephanie and I continue to talk about what's the third term look like, because she says, I've never seen you happier, and you wake up every morning with new accomplishments in our city and a smile on your face. So carry on.
Interesting. Okay, so the first run with federal, you retired because you were disassociated from your relationship, your marriage.
Right. In 2015, when I left Parliament, I came back. I did end up getting divorced.
Correct.
And since then, I've met Stephanie and married again last year.
So you come back, you're in politics again, and it's the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah.
What?
Well, I'll tell you the comparison.
Yes.
I loved some of the great work I got to do federally in the Parliament. It was really incredible to be able to make the laws of this country and make fiscal budget decisions that were the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But all of the work in Parliament, I always describe it this way: it's glacial. You know it's moving, but you can't see it moving. It takes that long to do great work. And so 12 years in Parliament was like an incredible piece. But I'll tell you, as the mayor of a community of our size with what's going on, I wake up in the morning, check my phone, and I can solve 4 or 5 people's problems before noon. It is an immediate, hands-on type of politics.
Correct.
Especially with the council that we have, it's just they've been universally good. Right? They've accepted the strategic planning of what growing a city of our size takes, and been almost universal on every vote. There's nothing we've ever reconsidered in the 5 or 6 years I've been mayor.
So far, there's what, 8 council members,
councillors, right? I think we could do it 9 with me.
Correct.
I'm only one vote at that council, but I think we could do with 1 or 2 less. I don't think it needs to be as big as it is, but there was plenty of time in St. Thomas where they did need to be more.
Right. Now explain to people how that works, because a lot of the times individuals assume that you get the final say.
No, I mean, I've taken it upon myself to vote on every issue we've had, so that because I want to show that I am one vote.
Okay.
But I'm one vote.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if it was 4-4, my vote would be the deciding vote. I don't remember that happening in the 5 years.
Correct. Correct.
Almost. And the great councillors we currently have, we all have a pretty good idea that once it's voted on, win or lose, what side you were on, it's unanimous. We leave that room as if it's 9-0. It was unanimous. We voted it in. That's going to be what the bylaw is going to say, and we're doing it.
Okay.
All right.
So just to give a visual of it, right? Let's say hypothetically there's X amount of financial funding available.
Yep.
You guys have to determine where this money is going to.
Yes.
Something pops up and says, okay, you know what? We're gonna give this money we're gonna allocate this money to the homeless, and we're gonna vote on it. So is it just hands up? Who's in favor, just like that?
We just exactly had that. Because really, not so much in our budget. We had set aside some more money for helping with affordable housing and homelessness, but Eastwood Cooperative, Eastwood Housing in St. Thomas came to us and said, we're wanting to build an 82-unit affordable housing building.
Okay,
and we'd like something from the city. We'd like you to help us with it. And we said, yep. That'd be great. What are you looking for? And we settled on giving them $3 million toward a little over $10 million project.
Okay.
And we get to use some of those units to help people off our lists, but because we're making the contribution. But here we were sitting at council trying to suggest that we were going to spend off budget $3 million towards housing. I've got a council that it's done nothing but say yes and good things about housing. However, $3 million is, if it was added to the budget that we passed, would have added about 600,000 is 1 point in taxes.
Okay.
So 3 million would be about 5 points in taxes. Taxes would have been, instead of 2.95, would have been
the way up.
8.5.
Yeah.
Right? Which some communities around us certainly have set tax rates that high.
Okay.
But we've been also trying to, with the smart growth we're doing in our city, with the growth we're seeing in our community, continue to set aside some finances so that when we run into something that is worth doing, like perhaps industrial land, so that we can attract a really large employer, right? We have the money to do it. We're not stretched and can't say we can't do it, right? We've made some really good headway on the areas that we looked for. We did a strategic plan that was all about finding jobs, finding housing, including the servicing that communities need, the boring stuff, the water and the sewers and the roads and stuff, and parks. And we've all agreed that kind of in that order, we have to think smart. We've seen, look, you came from some other places too, as I did. I saw Mississauga grow and not do it smart. I saw Brampton grow and it not do it smart.
Correct.
So the thoughts when I decided to run back in 2018 was, we're growing. There's a lot of people coming to our community every day, every month, every year. At the time, about 1,000 people a year were coming to St. Thomas, choosing St. Thomas to be their hometown. We said, well, we got to do this smart. We can't just let this happen. We're going to end up with traffic problems or not enough jobs for people, and certainly not enough housing for people. So we plan to do it.
Correct. Now, why do you think St. Thomas is growing that fast? Because before, I'll meet people on the street, they started blaming me, man. That was like, before you Torontonian came here, everything was good.
Yeah, well, we still get a bit of that, but not you personally, just in general. Look,
so why is it going so fast?
Because people want to be here. And I've had the same conversation with many people who've been in St. Thomas their whole life and say, Mayor, what are you doing? You're expanding our community at a time when I liked my sleepy old village, right?
Correct.
And I said, I can't stop people who want to be in St. Thomas. They're just coming, and some of them make the wrong turn and end up there. Okay, right? But most choose to come there. And I said, what would you have me do? Put up a wall, a fence? How do we stop people from picking St. Thomas if that's where they want to go? And so, how about we welcome them and we plan for that growth? We called it smart growth for 5 years now. It's how do we get them to come here, settle nicely, have housing, have jobs, right? And do it smartly so that we're not overloading what would be hard to do in a small community.
Correct.
So now, we did it the other way.
Okay. No, definitely, for sure. The city's growing. And initially I was like, man, this is growing fast. And I don't know if the city's equipped, but, caught on very quick. And you guys actually, like you're saying, the team you guys have are doing an amazing job. One thing I did notice is there's a large amount of diversity coming into St. Thomas, right?
Clearly.
And initially, I believe, but maybe not even maybe 5-7 years ago, it was 97% Caucasian. Now, easily, even maybe more,
maybe
right? Probably 1.5 indigenous, and then the other, 1.5 just everybody else, right? Now, it's the diversities, from whether it be Africa, whether it be India, whether it's
worldwide. We've got different communities from around the world, and some very valuable ones to our community. And really showed, I think, the positive side of that diversity really showed during COVID. Right? There was an awful lot of the community groups, the diversified community groups, that went the extra mile and it really helped people in need during COVID. And so now it's a given. Right?
Yeah.
This is the new face of what St. Thomas is, or the new face of workplaces in St. Thomas, the new faces of our police force. It's what we, it's who we wanted to become without it becoming a problem.
Okay.
We got there by saying all are welcome and weren't selective. We just said, you want to come to St. Thomas? Then great. We have a great Muslim community now. We have a great Indian population now
Mm-hmm.
who do a lot of great things in our community. We have a Filipino community now that,
Yeah.
right? As
Yeah.
a mayor, I get invited to all this stuff, and most
Yeah.
of it's food related. So it's right, but it's,
Okay. Okay. No, because I get hands on of who comes into the city in terms
Right.
of the barbershop. Like you could see
Right.
you could see a large, like I'm talking about hundreds upon hundreds of new clients from India and Pakistan, and a lot of students going to Fanshawe College. And I sit there and ask them,
especially
right?
heavy industrial or international use of our community college.
Correct.
Very much so.
Fanshawe is definitely being recognized a lot more,
Right.
10 times more than it was, a decade ago, right? Internationally.
And they're cognizant of that. And they
Yeah.
recognize now they need to be as diversified and they
Correct.
need to offer what the community needs.
Correct.
I mean, I tell a story of my time before federal politics where I was the chair of the Youth Employment Counseling Center.
Okay.
And going to the president of Fanshawe and saying, I was the chair of the Chamber of Commerce, I think, at the time. How many plumbers next year are we turning out?
Mm-hmm.
He said, 18. I said, you said that really quick. How did you know? He said, that's how many chairs there is in the classroom. I said, is that really how we select what we need in our community or the types of skills training we need? And he said, well, it is right now, but I really would like it to get to be. And now we've got there. We've got to the point where what do we need to train? What skills do we really have to have in our community? And is Fanshawe capable of training? And if not, can the London campus help us? And we're obviously opening the world's largest battery plant, and that will take a number of specialized technicians.
Correct.
Fanshawe has joined right in, has even visited Germany already and said, what do we have to do? What's the training protocol for this? How do we make this work? I think we're good. By the time we have to hire those people on, Fanshawe will be well up to speed and doing their job. Westerns also jumped in to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Now, I see the younger generation, right? The younger generation have welcomed the new face of St. Thomas.
Yes.
It's very clear.
Very
they
much
actually
so.
love it, right? I'm not too sure, or I don't really know what the older generation is saying because they were here for decades upon decades upon decades where St. Thomas only looked one way. So now,
many of them grew up in a household that wasn't diversified,
Correct.
and the parents may not have been tolerant of that.
correct, because
not,
you're
not
around.
negatively.
No, I understand because you're around in that timeline, right? So what's your generation saying?
Well,
about
as
the
I
new
said,
face?
they're more vocal about the change to the community. And sometimes you have to read what that might mean, right? Some of it's there's more cars in the street and I got to wait twice till I can get through a left turn light. Okay, that's the biggest problem you got? Go visit Toronto. But some of it is also about
the infrastructure,
colors of skin and other things. And so they grew up in households that have now learned how to be far more tolerant and that it is a good thing in our community to have that type of diversity, even if it's just by now new choices of restaurants or new choices of purchasing ability in some of our stores. For the most part, it's a successful thing. Is there still people who are not? Yeah, of course there is. But there isn't. Even in some of the most diverse places in the world, you'll find people who don't like it, right?
Correct.
But I think we're handling it well, and maybe better than people thought because we just let it go and made it work good.
You know what? I think so too, because once again, it's not like Toronto that been diversifying from God knows in the 60s, right?
Right.
St. Thomas technically probably has started within the last 8 years, 9
Yeah.
years.
Well,
right?
I came in 1990 to St. Thomas, and so I've seen it since then.
Correct.
But and even through my employees, through the workforces out there, and what, of course, right. But the other thing that happened earlier than that, from a diversification point of view, you had the Chinatowns of the world. You had the Italian
Italy
sections of the world,
correct.
of the bigger cities. We were never big enough to be able to say, okay, everybody live in one place. Right? It is a kind of spread diversification, and it's really made a difference. Neighbors had to learn their neighbors.
Yeah. And their kids are going to school
That's right.
with different ethnicities, and they're coming home. And that's actually one of the reasons why I decided to go inside the schools and teach people that different is cool, different is good, different is nice. So
And I'm so glad you're doing it, because it is a message that may not happen in the home.
Yeah, correct.
And so if we can do it other places, whether it's in the school, in the playground, at the school, in athletics, then all of that is a better diversification. People get used to, hey, he's a pretty cool guy.
Yeah.
They don't say that about me very often. So
nah.
Yeah.
No, man. You got a lot of love in the hood, man.
Yeah. Well,
a lot of my friends from Toronto, New York, wherever, they're like, yo, dude, that's the mayor? Okay. I like him, man. I like him. For example, Rob Ford, when I was in Toronto, that dude, regardless of what people thought about him, regardless of what he did, he was like the most realist human being on the planet. Like,
said what he thought, went to work every day and said, I believe in this. You can vote the other way if you want, but I believe in this. You know where he stood.
Correct. And a lot of times people never understood what he did for the community. Like, for example, I knew at least 5 individuals that he paid for the tuition to go to university. He paid for their football scholarships to go and play ball, right? So he was definitely hands-on. And, a lot of times when you get leaders that are hands-on, they get attacked. Meaning to say that a lot of times when you got leaders that are for the people, and I consider you for the people as well too, right? They might get a lot of negative, attention, right? Because in the negative attacks.
You still have to have thick skin. I mean, if you're thinking 100% of the people are going to love you all the time, it's just not going to happen in politics. And my wife takes that a lot harder than I do. Yeah. Right. When somebody says something mean about me, there's different social media groups in St. Thomas that I read just for fun. That she gets mad. Yeah. Why did that guy say that? Well, I don't know. I don't know him. Right.
Now, how does that work?
He's really brave. He's in his basement typing. It's okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Now, how does that work in terms of, because since, Stephanie's a woman, she's more emotional, right? And people are cruel, right? So when they do attack her, whether it be on social media or whatever, and, how does it at home? Because she's very passionate.
Well, she's very protective of me.
Correct.
Right? As you know, she's a public person. She was an entertainer too, but she also has a mental illness that we're very public about, right? Okay. And so that
bipolar, right?
Bipolar and ADHD and a real mix with her, but she handles it well, and she does great peer support with other people who have mental illness. Mm-hmm. But that helps her confront that maybe that what the person's saying isn't true. It's okay. I learned in politics a long time ago. The first election I won, I beat a cabinet minister and became a member of parliament, right? And it was the most exciting night of my life until about 3 a.m. Mm-hmm. I said, I just won this election with 45% of the vote. Does that mean 55% of the people voted against me? Right?
Yeah.
And so you have to say, and by the time it was done, I was winning with 60%. And now as mayor, I'm feeling even more comfortable than that. Mm-hmm. But it's not unanimous. There's never been a unanimous vote, right? Mm-hmm. It's always going to be somebody for some reason thinks that's not the right person for the job. Mm-hmm. Okay, but that's the mix. That's how we get there, right? Mm-hmm. And so you have to have thicker skin. Occasionally, something will occur where someone will phone the house or knock on the door and leave messages for me. And Stephanie goes, this isn't the office. Please take that to City Hall, right?
Correct.
We get to have a private life too.
How do you deal with that, though? Because somebody's actually coming to your house.
Yeah, well, it's a bit scary, in this day and age when somebody, actually knocks on the door to tell you you're wrong. But hey, I deal with it way better. And so I know I've got the next day to deal with Stephanie's mood on it, right? Mm-hmm. But she's outspoken. She has actually just gone to social media and said, we have a private life. Leave us alone when we're at home. If you want to say something about us, by all means, make comments. But or go to the office.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
So you're okay with that? You just, Stephanie, go do your thing on social media. Get them.
Yeah.
You're fantastic.
As I said, she's far more protective of me than I am from something. I make friends with everybody, so I'll just walk away, and then I know I don't want to see that person again, perhaps. But she holds grudges. she's good to have in my life.
Yeah. That dynamics is actually amazing. You know what I mean? It's almost like two complete opposites, but they're really one at the same time.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
So
I'm funny and she is musical. And so it's two different things. And we really are that way in life. I think pretty quick on my feet. I've always said that I think the prerequisite for politics is somebody who is the class clown in school. Because they're always pretty quick. They always could take it right to the edge before they got sent to the principal's office and stop just before then.
Yeah.
And I used to have my own chair outside the vice principal's office in high school.
Okay, high school now. What high school did you go
to?
I
went to Banting in London.
Okay, Banting in London. Okay, so like you're saying you were the class clown, are you joking?
Yeah. No, I was. No, okay. By then I was starting to be, but then I was doing some acting. I was doing public speaking. I had a lot of fun. I was fairly athletic too by then, but I'd come out of a fairly shy childhood.
Okay.
Right. I have 6 brothers and sisters.
Oh, okay.
Okay. My older sister is about 3 years older than I am, and I had twin brothers, 18 months older than me.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's a really unique thing because I had 2 of everything when I grew up.
Okay.
As soon as they outgrew it, I had both of them.
Correct.
Right? And then there was 2 younger brothers and sisters, but not till 6 years after me.
Mm-hmm.
But so it was very close, the 4 of us. And so every school I ever went to, I'd run into teachers and say, "You're Jim and John's brother?" And they would already be dreading having me in their class.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I had to teach them that I was just smarter and funnier than they were, and it worked out okay.
Mm-hmm. You know that. So you grew up with both of your parents then, right?
No. And my parents were divorced, I think, when I was in grade 8.
Grade 8.
Before high school. Yeah.
So did you move with your dad, or you went?
No, my mother had all of us, all 6 of us. My mother was a nurse, and so had the opportunity to work overnights. And so Mom would go to work at 11 and come back by 7, and we'd be all getting ready to go to school. And it was and it worked out pretty well.
So your mom
she's
got
a
remarried?
superhero, right?
Was she a single mom, or she got remarried?
Nope, she never remarried. No.
Wow.
She was the best there was in that sense. Now we did still know our dad, right? But it worked out great. Mom really showed us what that. And I will say, when you have a family that large, you somewhat self-parent too, right? You know, my older sister was always quite in charge if she was there, and then us, and so.
So you grew up with, I guess the woman being the head of the house.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Now, so when you got married, and you had to be the head of the house, how was that transition?
Well, I think shared head of the house is a better thing. But,
shared. Okay.
Yes, I was. I agree. She agreed I was right occasionally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, so you're saying the first when you got married the first time, it was both you guys.
We were both very young. I was married at 20.
20.
And we had our own business. And it was. Tough sledding in the beginning and became very good. But sometime I ended up then going to Ottawa. Talked to many members of Parliament. It's a bad place for marriages.
Yeah.
I'm away from home 26 weeks of the year.
Okay.
You're home on the weekends of those 26.
Oh, okay.
But with always a full weekend of events you're supposed to be at. A rural riding member of Parliament expected to be at every chicken hatching and cattle birthing there is. Right. And so it just became a kind of almost a forced separation. And then near the end of my federal career, I spent a lot of time with the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association and around the world helping other democracies rebuild themselves, whether it was visiting South Africa or my favorite one was Tonga. We helped rebuild their parliament. And so, but that was just that much more time away. It became, right. The good thing was my children were young adults when I first ran for parliament. My roommate in Ottawa, my first roommate in Ottawa, I watched him try and parent young children on the phone. And it's, because he's just away. There's just that's where the job is. And many people with young children in Ottawa will move their families to Ottawa.
Yeah, how come?
Well,
you didn't do that?
I didn't have to because mine were already off. One of the funnest 2 years in Ottawa was my daughter went to the teachers college at the University of Ottawa and lived with me for 2 years. Right. So it was like, so I had some of that, but I really just fell out of love and distanced from my first wife. And when I left politics, I thought, well, that might solve it. We'll be able to be home together. And we found we had not much in common. So,
and then for those 3 years, you said to yourself, I'm not doing no more politics.
Well, I said for the first year, I'm going to say no to everybody. And that's hard for me. And you know me. It's hard for me to say no.
Yeah.
And so I went to work at my businesses every day and found both of my managing partners, the people who help run the businesses.
Yeah.
I think they'd been talking to each other. They said, you're not coming here all day, every day, are you? And then I went down to Wendy's and Marcy said, you're not coming here all day, every day, are you? I said, oh, you've been talking to Jeff at Boston Pizza.
Yeah.
And so I found I could go and do community work with them or both of them thought it was just great. Marcy still does this. Well, no, you can't come back where we actually do food. You talk, go out in the dining room, talk. Everybody knows you anyway. And so go on out. And so that's my role in my businesses is the communication or the customer service side of it. And what's funny is now Stephanie's doing it 2 or 3 days a week, working the front of the house at Wendy's, and having a fun time doing it. So,
She is, eh? That's nice. Well, she's naturally a business
no, she knows her stuff.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So now 2018 when mayor race comes into play.
Yeah.
Heather's
I thought I had competition, but no.
I did run for mayor.
Yeah, you did.
So I did run for mayor.
But he and I would kind of sit off to the side of the dais and say about all the things we could get done, and the other two.
Correct.
I saw Steve today and told him I was coming here to do this. He said, "Oh, that sounds like fun." So, right?
Yeah, I tell you because I didn't even know you were running actually.
Well, I wasn't going to, and then other people kind of forced me into it. I had a number of community people said, "You've got to run. If it sits this way, Heather has a great chance of winning, and that may not be. Do we want to carry on in that direction?
Okay.
And no offense, love her dearly, still count her as a friend.
Yeah.
Right. But I didn't think the city was moving in the direction it needed to move at the growth it was showing. So I said, okay, I'll jump in. And I know you and I sat there and said, what'd you do that for? I had a chance till you stepped in.
You're right, man. So 2008, it was actually very fun though.
It was.
When I ran with you, it was actually extremely fun. Because at that particular time, I never met Heather before. I didn't know Steve Wookie as well too, but I did know that it was probably one of the few elections where the community was really involved. Because everywhere I go, they'll say, "Hey, man." They were actually engaged. They were, and the interesting thing. This is one thing
that we brought up some neat things that weren't happening. Transit and housing and some other things.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure they would have ever got there if we hadn't brought them up.
I don't think so. I don't think because it wasn't. It's been years, right? Decades where it hasn't happened, right? And I said to myself, and I think I told you too. I was like, you know what, like. There was the last debate, I believe, was on Channel 10 or Rogers or something like that, right? And everybody got 5 minutes to talk about why they should be mayor, right? And I took my 5 minutes to tell people why did she vote for you?
Right. Well, and it didn't hurt, and I still owe you, right? No.
Yeah, but there was a reasoning for that, right? It was very
because
clear.
the other choices I didn't think were popular. I didn't think it would work, and it still was a fairly close race. That first,
it was only a couple hundred between.
Yeah, about 500 between Heather and I, and that's significant. And then she came again last time and ran again,
but it wasn't the same.
It was not, not quite as close.
It was like a few thousand, right?
Right.
So, and a lot of people ask me like, so why'd you bother run if you're running to promote Joel, right? And I told you that from day one. Right. I said my main focal point was the community, and you listed off 4 or 5 issues that you thought we better talk about. Correct.
Right. Correct. If we can get them to the top of the plate, then we can do something about them. And transit was probably the biggest one of all of them. St. Thomas had just an abysmal transit
mental
system.
Health.
Right.
Yeah.
And we did what we said we were going to do. We were making it 7 days a week, and we're going to get it till into the evening. But it's still not.
Correct.
Transit is so expensive.
It is, and it actually.
And we finally now have transit to London.
You do have it. How does that work? Explain to the population.
Well, we're part of a system that Middlesex County developed about putting transit between some of their small communities. And London. Mm-hmm. And so the system we're connected to is one that also serves Dorchester. But 4 runs every morning, 4 runs every evening from St. Thomas to London. The one that works best for us is the St. Thomas run to White Oaks Mall.
Okay.
Right. Then it goes off to Dorchester and comes back, and then goes back to St. Thomas.
Okay.
$5 fare. I mean, you can't beat the price.
Correct.
Right.
But how are you able to sustain that with $5?
This is a pilot project based on a provincial grant for this to run this way. Mm-hmm. I still believe that there is a retail plan to be able to do transit back and forth to London, mm-hmm. right? Where the fares would actually pay for most of the cost, if not all. But I mean, I'll give you the examples of the St. Thomas transit system. We improved it and made it 7 days a week and all day long, and including paratransit. Costs us about $2 million a year for that St. Thomas transit system.
Yes.
The way it sits now. About $480,000 of it is covered by fares.
Okay.
So it costs $2 million, and about $480,000 is covered by the people who are riding.
So you're missing 1.5 more
well,
than that.
The province throws in about $400,000 worth of gas tax, right?
Okay.
But so it goes to transit in Ontario.
Okay.
So that's still under $1 million for a $2 million cost.
So where's that million from?
The rest of the taxpayers. The people who'd never ride the bus in St. Thomas pay more than half of the cost of the system.
Now, what can we do in order to? So
there are ways to make this better. We are increasing, but COVID really kicked the heck out of all of transit anyway. Okay. People just weren't out. So it's coming back now, and we've adjusted some of the routes to better serve the industrial area, as does the London to St. Thomas run also serve our industrial area and theirs, right?
Okay.
That's causing a lot more use during the go to work and get home from work time.
Okay.
The biggest thing is most people think transit should be like Uber or a taxi. It should always be out front of my house when I want it.
Correct.
And it should take me to exactly where I'm going.
Correct.
Now, that does work well for taxis and for Uber and for rideshare.
Okay.
It is not what transit does. Transit needs to follow a reasonably standard route that comes somewhere near your house to pick you up and drops you off somewhere near where you're going.
Correct.
Right? But because not everybody's going exactly the same place. Mm-hmm. So how do you increase ridership without increasing more costs to have more buses going more places at more times of day? So we're looking now and so we went to the app system where we have a bus on demand.
Yes.
So you're at home and you go to the app and you say, I'm at bus stop, whatever, the one nearest to your house, and I'll be going to the city hall.
Okay.
And it says, great, go stand out there. In 15 minutes, that bus will be there. So instead of, we have 2 routes that run all day long on standard routes. And the rest of the day, we have buses that are being used for paratransit or for the on-call system. Mm-hmm. So instead of driving around all day, they're waiting for a call that says, so when you use the app and you get on that bus, it comes and gets you, and it will either take you to your destination or it will take you to the next transit route that will take you to your destination. Whereas Talbot runs every 15 minutes. So it does. It's not a bad system. It needs more. Correct. We need probably 2 more of those buses running all the time to handle the school time overflow or the go to work overflow. But we know where the holes are in the transit system. It's putting more money into the top of it that's causing us the most excitement.
You know what? Right? That's almost technically it is an on-demand transit system, almost, roughly.
Yep.
Not too many
I think
cities.
We can do, well, not too many cities are doing that. Many have jumped on it now. There's a number more saying, why are we driving big empty buses around a circuit empty?
For no reason.
Right.
Correct.
Why don't we use smaller buses like we have?
Correct.
And make them more full when we're using them.
Okay.
And they're less costly to run, less gas, right? The buses' costs are cheaper.
Correct.
And try and get more ridership that way. But in order for transit to pay for itself, the thing has to be almost full all the time, which is what we're really, that's the intent. Let's make it as convenient as we can make it so that more people take it.
Now, is that because of, I guess, promotion? Is that because of where accessibility? What do you think is the bigger issue that's stopping individuals from?
It's convenience. Look, you and I grew up in a different time, perhaps, but but right now people want instant gratification. You want to go on your phone and be where you want to be.
Correct.
And I'm sorry, but transit systems aren't that. Transit systems are kind of the infill of that. Instant gratification. But I want to go on my phone and order tacos right now, and they come to my house. And great. But buses just can't all be every place somebody wants to be. So we try to design routes or systems in our community where there's a bus within 100 yards of you, but you're still going to have to do a little bit to get to it. And when it drops you off, you might have to have that same walk home, right? Because you can't all go by everybody's home.
Correct. Okay.
So that was one thing, and we talked a lot about it.
Yes.
We're working hard on electrifying the fleet. We got a good amount of money out of the federal government to buy electric buses.
Mm-hmm. And those would be 10 times better, or?
Well, nobody makes one in Canada yet. There are some European electric buses we've been looking at, but we'd rather buy Canadian product. Yeah. And so they make great big buses.
Okay.
The LTC can get an electric bus, one of their great big ones, but we can't get the little buses in electric yet. And we know they're coming. And so we will electrify the fleet because look, we're making EV batteries for a living now in our community. We better also become good at the battery part of the bus business.
Now, how did that deal transpire? How did the Volkswagen deal come about?
That's a great question. And thank you. We, in that first couple of years of that election after 18, we sat down and said, and we all agreed, the city's going to grow whether we want it to or not. So we want to just watch it happen, or do we want to do something about it? So we put together a plan that addressed a strategic plan. And I laughed out loud because I'd seen many strategic plans in the past that you pulled down off the shelf every 5 years and blew the dust off it. So we said, hey, look, we want to make sure that what we're doing here is where we want to be. But one of the things we decided we had to have was jobs.
Okay.
All right. So our Economic Development Corporation said, well, let's buy some industrial land in the northeast part of St. Thomas. Let's service it and see who comes calling to want to put a business there.
Oh.
So we did that as part of our strategic plan. At the same time as building better roads and doing parks and all the other stuff that was on the plan.
Yeah.
But right after we did it, the province called. Said, we see you've developed a very large industrial park. All right. If we offered you help, could you make it bigger? We said, yeah. My election slogan by then was, yes is the answer. What's the question? So, of course, I said yes.
Yeah.
Right? And they said, good. There's 4 or 5 large companies in the world wanting to build what they're calling giga plants around the world. And so if we can start with what you've started with, and we can make the area bigger, and we can still service it because we know we can, and we want to help you with that financially, we'll help you do that, St. Thomas. And we're going to keep negotiating with these companies, and we want them to come see what you have to offer. Very secretive. Couldn't tell us who they were. Couldn't tell us. We could start to guess after a while who they had to be if they're that big of a company.
Correct.
But we even used code names. I think the first code name was Project Bluebird, right? And how much land will Project Bluebird take, and how much power will it take, and do we have enough water? That type of thing. Anyway, somewhere in the middle of that first year of negotiations and development of the larger industrial park, we found out it was Volkswagen, and they were looking at, a number of locations around the world. We weren't the only one. And it had been narrowed down to a handful of sites. And then we finally had a great visit with them beyond. Look, their checklist was done. The land was big enough. There was enough water, all that. But we had a great relationship building meeting with them. And we said, okay, I feel real comfortable. Who are they competing with? Who are we competing with? We found out the last city we were competing with was Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oh, okay.
And I said, well, we can beat Tulsa. Let's go. And so we did.
Yeah.
And so they called and said, yeah, we're going to build the world's largest industrial facility in the world in St. Thomas, Ontario. 12 million square feet. Do you have any idea how big 12 million square feet is?
Is St. Thomas even 12 million square feet?
It is 210 football fields all put.
Yeah.
I still can't even picture that.
That's crazy.
So now I've gone out and looked, and you can see the footprint of where the plant will be. It's 1.7 kilometers long and a kilometer wide.
Wow. And that's employing about what?
3,600 people, we think. It'll employ about 1,500 people during the construction phase.
Wow.
It already has been a lot of jobs just to even get the land ready.
Yeah.
About 1,500 people installing the equipment that it takes to build unified cell batteries. And then 3,600 people to build them once it starts building them late in 2026 or early in 2027.
Yeah. Wow. That's huge, man.
On top of that, of course, that plant needs to be supplied.
Correct.
So there's many other industries. I was just down at the supplier days in Toronto. 170 companies came to sell Volkswagen their goods, right? From pencils through whatever else they need.
Correct.
Right? And many of them want to now also locate to St. Thomas. If they get the contract with PowerCo Volkswagen, then they want to be there in order to be able to supply them. So
as well, right?
Oh, gee, it's a shame.
So everything.
No, I'm being sarcastic. It is a fantastic. Almost every day, I'm meeting someone else who wants to bring jobs to St. Thomas in a good way. Somebody asked me what I thought the greatest thing was about attracting PowerCo Volkswagen to our community, and I said, "Look, and on top of all the neat things I could point out, I had a grandparent come up to me and say." You know what you just did? It's generational. You made it so my grandkids no longer have to leave St. Thomas after they're finished high school.
Yeah.
They can stay here, go to college, end up with a job where they can afford to buy a house in our community, and now we're that community. And I said, yeah, I'll take that. I'm pretty proud of that. I'll take that. So
now, I seen it the first day I got to St. Thomas. I seen it, how far this could go, how big the city could get. Now you were hands-on. Now you're telling me right now that everything, the Volkswagen plan initially started with the economical development team. That's amazing. So you guys sat down and literally strategized and said, this is the plan. We're going to actually build something in hopes.
The action plan that caused that to happen was us deciding, we looked around us and municipalities around us had no land available. They all had offers to please come build in our community. But if you came, they'd have to then go buy the land from the landowner and service it.
Correct.
We said, we got to get a little further ahead of that. Correct. So we honestly didn't think 1,500 acres like we ended up, but we did a good size industrial area service ready for someone to come and build a plant the size of Amino on it, right? That size.
Correct.
and good news fell from the sky.
Wow, that's amazing. And the Amazon deal.
Well, that's again, Southwold helped with it, and it's in their community. But that's okay. Here's I told you about the size of Amazon. 12 Amazons.
Yeah.
Will be PowerCo.
Wow.
You've seen the size of the Amazon building.
Amazon's huge.
All right. But what a great another great workforce. And let's have more. There's more to be at Broccolini has that site, and they will build more on that site. We'll continue to build in Northeast St. Thomas. Now that we've given a fair bit of wastewater ability to the town of Central Elgin, the municipality of Central Elgin, they'll have their own little industrial park too. Not little, of good sized industrial park too. We got lots of jobs happening here, and we've got to house all these people.
That's the next question. Where are you gonna find land to build these homes to house all these?
Funny enough, we planned that too.
Okay.
All right. Well, and as you've seen, we've got cranes in the air for the first time in forever in St. Thomas. We're building a lot of market rent apartments in St. Thomas. Okay. Right now, we're not seeing a lot of building of single family homes because of where the interest rates are on housing.
Correct.
If we had stayed on the path we were on building homes, we would have been killing it, right?
Yeah.
But at least we promised 500 houses a year. 500 new homes a year in last year's state-of-the-art speech. Mm-hmm. And we got 483 out of the market rent apartments and such we're building. We, by May of this year, have already had our third best housing year we've ever had. And we're only at May. So we expect the rest of the year we will break a whole new record on how many houses we built. Most of them market rent apartments or townhomes or other pieces till we get back to building single family homes. That's fine with me. Let's put some more cranes in the air. It's a good fill for what we already have.
Now, do you plan on running for mayor again to sustain this? Because it'll be a shame.
And some of this doesn't happen till after the next election, some of the openings of some of this stuff. Yeah, I feel really good right now. Now, I wake up every morning smiling still. So I think I have no doubt if I feel like this, I'll keep doing it.
Well, let me know, man.
Well, Stephanie's made me, you may want to lose 50 pounds. And so she set that as my goal. I can run again if I get there. So I've been at CrossFit 2 days a week, and I've been working out. It's because I honestly, there was 3 months there after that announcement from Volkswagen where I'd wake up in the middle of the night smiling.
Yeah.
And I go, wow, my teeth are all dry. Right? I just couldn't stop smiling all day.
Yeah.
And so it's been a really positive time. And I've just met so many great people around the province and around the world with this. And this is a really quite a unique business to be getting into, the unified cell battery.
Correct. Now, okay, if I'm going to take you back to 2018 and present.
Right.
If you couldn't run, if you had to remove yourself from both of those, the last 2 terms elections, your running mates, who would you have handpicked to be mayor? Who would you have voted for?
Besides yourself? Because you and I both know it. We kind of sat at one end and said, okay, it can't be what we're seeing on the other end. Right?
Yeah.
Although Steve Wookie has rejoined us on council after that.
Correct.
Right, when Linda Stevenson died, we asked Steve to come back on council.
Yeah.
And now we've become very good friends after having competed. I didn't serve on council with him before that 2018 election.
Correct.
And he now says, I'll never run for mayor. You've shown me how to do it. I'm not doing it, right?
You said that, eh?
Yeah. And that's been the difference. I've got a group of 8 right now who all work so well together, but we that wasn't the way it was before 2018. We had a council that didn't like its mayor, or wasn't always getting along with its mayor, maybe a better way to put it. And you can't have those differences. I talked to the mayor of London and some other mayors, and they have councils that aren't always as unanimous as mine. And they go, how did you do that? I said, you give and take. You create good ideas, and they say, or they create good ideas and you steal them. All of this is right. So, right? Okay, I've got 2 former mayors on that council.
Yeah.
In former Mayor Steve Peters and Jeff Kohler.
Yeah, because I sat there and I was like, wow, like you got, well, Steve Wilkie was definitely one of the highest rated council members at one time. You got the 2 former mayors.
Right. With Gary Clark, with Lori Baldwin Sands. Look, it's a great team. And now the 2 joined that. All of us that ran last election in the 2022 election were elected. And that happened nowhere else that I can find, where everybody who was on council that ran was reelected. And there was many around us who were completely turfed. There was a whole new council. So.
Correct. Yeah, and I was going to say, the new individuals like Tara.
Tara's, well, we know of her strength. She comes from with a great business counseling background. Yeah. And Rose ran 7 times for council and finally got there. And it's turned into, I made fun of her the other night at council. I said, I'm sorry, we have to call you Rose because the term Energizer Bunny is already taken. She just is everywhere doing everything. Look, when you get councilors like that care about our community at the same level. Yeah. And when we get together, we're a force to be reckoned with. And so I give them, I give them all the credit in the world. But I have to give also the director level, the leadership team at our city, some real kudos. We've got the right experts in the right place, and we couldn't have done this big of a deal without having a great city manager, both with Wendell and then with Sandra, and now Michael Bradley's come on board and really good. Okay, but our chief engineer, our parks guys, we've got like the best of everything across. And I'm afraid we'll lose some, so I don't want to say out loud how many are good, but they're all great. But we did this deal, the largest industrial attraction deal that's maybe ever been done, off the sides of our desks because we couldn't tell anybody we were doing it. We couldn't tell anybody we were doing it until we could announce it. Well, we've got a leadership team of maybe 12 people. And there would be days I'd be wandering through City Hall. Maybe I shouldn't say this, but I'd be wandering through City Hall and going, where's Sandra? Oh, she's in Toronto. Okay, where's Justin? Oh, he's in Toronto. Oh, where's Sean? Oh, he's in Toronto. Is the whole team in Toronto? I think Michael Carroll's still at Valley View. No, right? Because it took the whole team to negotiate this deal. Yeah. And they were that good too, but they couldn't not do their other jobs. And I said, so is it my job to make sure the water's still running and the garbage is getting picked up? Nope, it's the whole team. So we would meet and talk about how do we do this? And it did. It was a lot of work and a lot of tiring work to get to that point. We were so glad when we could announce that we got the Volkswagen plant because then we could hire an industrial development team to take care of that. Everybody could go back to doing their job, right? Yeah. The one that we really paid them for. It's great. I've learned more about how to use experts.
Correct.
I've never claimed to be an expert on too many things. Yeah. But when somebody asks me, how are we doing this? I'll say, just a second, I'll find out. Right? Because I know somebody who knows. I don't know, but I'll find somebody. And so it really is like the best team, both on the employee side and on the counselor side I've ever seen. And as I said at the start of tonight, politics is a sport to me. I watch it like a sport. And I've never seen anything like this before. So I believe we're blessed. I mean, it really is. Everything has gone so well in the last 5 or 6 years. I just say there's a greater force than me guiding it. So it works for me. And I'll just keep doing it that way and keep smiling every day.
And I definitely believe, God is the focal point, regardless of what people want to say. I know God's the focal point because I remember I was watching the election. And you were running, so I was like, I'm not going to waste my time, right? To run again, right? I'm going to wait until you chill, and then I'm in,
sooner or later, I'll leave. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
But on a serious note, I remember sitting there, and I'm like, okay, you know what? If St. Thomas votes in Tara, right? I know these guys know what they're doing, and I know God is in this.
He's got a hand in it.
And Tara got...
He's guiding these.
Yeah, right? Tara got in, and I said, that was God right there.
And everybody else who had done some real heavy lifting over the last 4 years, was reelected. And we kind of said that to each other.
People that deserved it, absolutely.
Well, but after that election, that first meeting afterwards, I said, the voters have told us what we're doing is okay. We have permission. Let's carry on doing the same things.
Yeah.
And it really did give us permission to go ahead and carry on running the city the way we were. And
correct.
I think even 2 years later, it's been even bigger.
Okay. So would you be the Hazel of St. Thomas?
Oh, look, I'm not sure I can get to 90-something, right? And
hey, why not, right?
Well,
would you keep on running just as long as you're healthy?
And I knew Hazel, at least to meet her and to say hi. Look, if I'm still feeling like this, why not? I mean, if I'm still loving it this much, then yeah, I'm going to, right? What better place to put my effort? Have you got one? I don't. I think this is the right thing to do, right? If we can carry on solving enough people's problems with each step of the way. Because look, we've also done some of that very well too.
Yeah.
From a homeless point of view, we're kind of leading the pack among cities all around us. We're just recognized for removing the 30% of our homeless in the last 2 years, with our by names list now being that if we can do 2 more buildings, we have no homeless. Right?
Wow.
Now, that's not to say we won't attract more people where that'll be the cause. We've got jobs still in our community going wanting, but we've got people without jobs, so we can make that happen. We're trying to do all of this based on the goodness of St. Thomas. If we can hire people in St. Thomas to fill these jobs, we don't have to build houses.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
But if we're attracting new people, then we have to find new jobs for them. And so that's the plan. And it's really, I mean, it almost sounds simplistic, but it's what we've been doing is let's look at it with the code of what will it mean if 3,600 people are needed to work at the Volkswagen plant, at the PowerCo plant. Do we have 3,600 people? Well, as you know, in the past, any large industry in St. Thomas or area, say the old Ford Motor plant or the Sterling plant, about a third of the people came from St. Thomas, about a third from London, and about a third from the surrounding area.
Correct.
Okay, so now that takes 36 down to 1,200, right? And 1,200 will come from London, and 1,200 will be from Central Elgin all the way to Tillsonburg, Elmer, and well, that's easy. And we're working on making sure that each of those communities, including London, is building as much housing as they can too, to help this growth and what we're seeing in Southern Ontario. We don't have to. It's heavy lifting, but we don't have to hold it all. Other people are helping us with it.
Correct. And I also noticed too, with the new individuals coming in, there's a lot of new businesses, entrepreneurship growing.
Well, look at the whole commercial section down at that one end of town. I said, gee, this looks like an awful lot of commercial. I'm not certain.
Correct.
We have less vacancy in our downtown than we've had in my whole life here.
Correct.
Right? And the commercial area has 0 vacancy, the new commercial area. Down,
the one you build,
And the fact that they're building a very tall apartment building right in the middle of that certainly adds a few more clients to even help them.
Absolutely.
I've not met a business person in St. Thomas that isn't running better than the previous years because of the growth of St. Thomas, right?
Correct. I'm downtown every day, and definitely is huge. It's huge. And
I will tell you, because of the new crosswalks, every so often it takes me a little longer to get to City Hall. But it gives me more chance to look at downtown and say, hey, wait, that store is opening. There's another right. Perfect.
Now, for the entrepreneurs, a lot of them, keep on asking me, right? For the new people that migrate into the city, a lot of individuals are asking me, is there help? Is there financial help? Is there grants for small businesses that, because they have all these ideas, they used to own businesses from whatever city they came from?
Or we're going to move them out of their mom's basement or garage and out onto Main Street. But yes, if they're coming to town with a new business, our EDC is fantastic and wants to hear from you. We don't only attract big factories. We want to both solidify the businesses we already have and help them do better, business planning or whatever else it might be. But and Tara, you mentioned Tara. She's working at the Elgin Business Resource Center now. And so if you've got a new business idea, there's another, you can talk to a counselor about how you're going to develop your new business. But with the Downtown Development Board and the EDC now working in tandem, it will be significantly easier to help retail merchants than it used to be.
Okay.
And it used to be most cities of our size sent somebody out to Japan or to different trade shows to try and attract one great big industry. Well, okay, we did that, but the real effort right now in our economic development is attracting any missing retail, any missing industry. What else can we attract? How do we keep those that we already have? Right? How do we make them more successful? There is not an industry in our community that hasn't grown in the last 2 years.
That's true.
Right? And there's construction going all over with Element 5, with Amino, I'm trying not to ignore them. Yes, we've had one great big, shining star with Volkswagen, but we've got to make sure that the industries in town are also getting the help that they need. But you asked about funding. So either through the Elgin Business Resource Center or through the Small Business Enterprise Center, there are starter company grants, summer company grants, even getting young people involved in entrepreneurship and maybe into their first business. And then when we get to storefronts and such downtown, we've got our CIP grants, and whether it's for facade or other apartments upstairs, or what else can we do to help make your business better?
Correct.
Yeah, and the both the federal and provincial government carry a fairly large portfolio of small business grants now too. So yeah.
So that's just a simple Google, or how do you access those grants?
Or ask Tara, or ask at either of those two places, and we'll see what we can do. Right? It's an exciting time right now. It is. It just truly is.
Now, do you think this run of St. Thomas is bigger than when the Ford plant was there?
Oh, it's considerably bigger, because it's not just about the Ford plant. It is about the growth of St. Thomas in a straight population numbers.
Yes.
Which means, I'll put it this way. There was 2,000 new customers last year that came to St. Thomas for my Wendy's. There's now 2,000 more people in town that could choose my business or your business or anybody's business. And each year, if we add 2,000 new people to town, then that's the case. They're yours to get.
Just have to go
You
hustle.
still got to go get them. I still always believe if one of my competitors is still open, I have more sales I can get.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
But right now, there seems to be enough for all of us. Correct. So, I see the growth being able to be, it's kind of picking low-hanging fruit right now.
Yeah.
But if you're really good, you can pick a whole bushel full of this fruit. There's a lot going on.
You know what? I've been saying that from day one. I remember when I first opened the St. T, the shop, the barber shop, right? And they were like, how did you get so much customers in a span of a couple of months, right? And the honest truth was, on Saturdays, everybody was closed at 12. I just opened.
You're there. Well, you and I have talked about this. I still have a number of businesses in our community that just won't get outside their four walls.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And I learned back in, I didn't want to leave my staff alone, but if I got out there and did things in our community, then I attracted business back to my business.
Correct.
And the more you can be involved in your community, the old saying is, community involvement is the price you pay for living someplace.
No, that's so true. Now
get out there and tell people who you are. Yeah. But I still see a number of business people in our community. I've never seen them at an event. Never seen them out sponsoring a kids team or sponsoring the music festival or anything.
Correct.
Right? Come on, it doesn't. You'll get it back in 10 times.
No, you're right. You're definitely right. The key is literally getting out there.
Right.
And making people see you. For example, myself and Chaclair, we're doing halftime shows at the basketball games. Yep. I'm performing the St. T song. You know what I mean? In Kitchener, in Toronto, in all. Chaclair is going Montreal, Calgary. We went to the Junos, and we're at the Junos, right? And it was in Edmonton at that time, and everybody was like, "Jumbo, that's the hoodie from Jumbo." Yeah, I heard about St. Thomas. So the cool thing is that you're right. You go out there, you start loving your community, and the community will love you back.
Absolutely.
It's plain and simple.
Do I care if someone comes and gets a hamburger because it's Joe's or because it says Wendy, I don't care. No, they're
Yeah.
still coming. If I visit your shop,
Yeah,
it's
correct.
because I know who it is, and you've
Correct.
been out there. And I will say that I somewhat punish those that I don't see at community events, that I don't
Yeah.
see doing it. I'm going to places where people are vibrant and want to.
Correct.
Well, we've done a number of those vibrancy things too about food trucks.
Yeah.
We can't have those in our community. Yeah, right. Yes, we can, and it makes a better and vibrant community to do those types of things.
Amazing. And it's usually the people that they're not out there. They are not out there, but they have the most mouth.
Right.
You know what I mean? So one thing is that if whatever you want people to do for you, just go out there and do it first, right? Plain and simple. Show love to other businesses if you want other businesses to show
tell
love to
people
you first.
when you want it. Look, I've done 5 years of Mayor's Update.
Yeah.
Right. Of being transparent, and in the last election, it was brought up. Well, at least what you say you're doing, right?
Correct.
And you're giving an opportunity for people to come on and say, I don't like what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's fine. Well, we're not going to be 100% sometimes, or maybe what you're saying is right. Let me take a look at it, right?
But at least you're accountable. You know what I mean? At least you're accountable.
I'm too hard to hide, so I just stay out in front, and it's a lot easier.
Okay. So, you know what? It's been great, man. It's like you've been doing this for a long time. And, as much as I want to run for mayor, it's not really.
There'll be a spot.
No, honestly, I really do not want to do it because I realize the impact of what I could do if I'm free and I'm able to actually be everywhere in terms of what I'm doing right now. You know what I mean?
Sometimes you got to make that choice too.
Correct.
I've had to turn this into an absolute full-time job. It was not done full-time by the person who had it before me.
Correct.
And I say I've got to get up, and it really is that. Now, I'm okay. No, we're not holding a tag day for Joe.
Yeah.
Even though this is a part-time job, I'll do it full-time and be happy doing it. It's working well. And the councilors have all far more involved than they used to be. It used to be show up Monday night, vote on a few things, and go home, and we didn't even know who our councilors were. We've got a pretty visible group. It's a great team working together.
And I think people should understand the reason why you're doing what you're doing is because of the love. It's because of you love your city. Because people I think are misguided. They really do not know the truth. They sit there and say, well, it's doing it for the money. Mayor is it's a part-time job. It's $50,000, right?
Yeah. Well, a little bit. 60. We'll
okay,
say.
cool.
But still. But if I didn't have my businesses, I couldn't afford to spend the time on being mayor that I am.
It's impossible.
Right?
It's impossible, right? So just so individuals understand that, it's not like you're the president making $400,000.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're making I
did make considerably more as a member of parliament.
Absolutely.
Right?
MPP.
But that job takes that's a life, not a job.
Correct.
And so, but as I said, this one's more fun, and you can get really neat things done really quick. Right?
And you're hands-on as well, too.
Well, I try to know most of what's going on, but I'm afraid I'll become the expert on parks, and I don't want to. I want my parks guy to be the expert on parks, and I'll have conversations with them when I see things I need that I'd like to do. But we've got some significant things like homelessness and housing that we're really working on, and other cities are coming to us.
Elaborate on that, the homeless issue?
Yes, it's been a housing crisis across Ontario, and early in 2019, we found the first how bad it could be.
Correct.
And we just said, well, we can ignore it or we can attack it. And so we've gone after the housing crisis. And since then, we use what we call a by names list. That's where we know the names of everyone who is homeless in our community and what their issues may be. And we work towards housing each and every one of them. And through Indwell, we've built 60 supportive housing units, which means it's a housing unit that has 24-hour mental health and addictions built into it, plus some wraparound services on a number of other things. And the success we get out of those housing is incredible for our community on a number of levels. I'll give you the first one we built was the Rail City Lofts. It's only a 16-unit apartment building above the transit building.
Yes.
Right? And we picked the hardest to house, maybe a better way to put it, 16 people to try this experiment, to do this first. Indwell, we got to know, and they were a great Christian charity who helps us with the supportive housing piece. 16 units. The 16 people that were housed in the Rail City Lofts, and please ask the police chief to make sure my numbers are right. The first people we housed in the 16 units at Rail City Lofts had 800 interactions with our police in the previous year.
Okay.
Guess how many in the year after they were housed?
How many?
I don't know, under 100.
Wow.
Right. I heard less than that, but I'll say under 100. So if you go from 800 interactions to under 100 interactions, how much do you think that just saved our city? Didn't cost. I mean, yes, there's a cost to doing the housing. I get it, but it's an incredible saving. Plus, what it saved our local businesses from the crimes and vandalism, anything that was going on about it. It's not gone completely, but it's reduced it. So now, with the opening of, and we're tracking these numbers, we opened the station on Queen Street, 45 more units. Less than a year ago, so we don't have a year's worth of stats yet, but we're collecting exactly the same thing. The 45 people we housed in that building, what will that tell us?
Correct.
We're working right now with Indwell to do 2 more buildings of the like, and to take us to almost to zero, at which point then our emergency shelter can become itself supportive housing, and we can do some more creative things with emergency sheltering.
Okay.
All right. But that's during this term, I see us, all but finishing that roll on housing from the day that we said this is a crisis to it's over with.
Now, one person, just reading out the comments, the questions that people are asking, and one person is like, the voicemails say you guys return calls. I guess they're still waiting for calls. For the callback, right? So
I don't know if it's me. My voicemail goes to Caitlin in my office, and then we do that. My personal voicemail is exactly that. My Joe Preston email or voicemail. So I'll give it to Stephanie to answer. But look, our customer service at stthomas.ca is the best way to get any answer on anything happening in our community. And we make some mistakes still too. We honestly do. And there are some problems that aren't solvable today.
Okay. The next person, I guess we touched on this. When will we see the expansion of the transit, shuttle buses with also electricity buses? But you already addressed that as
well. We added the London piece. That was a big piece to us right now. But you're right. You'll see some more expansion into the industrial area because we're certainly finding anything we do from an economic point of view helps business and helps the transit rider. We'll do more of that. And I did mention we're looking for Canadian-made electric buses. We may be forced to buy European and ship them here, but
Now, also, one individual is asking, what are you doing for preventative? Hold on one second. I don't know exactly what I guess she's trying to get to, but she's saying, what are you doing about? Hold on, let me find that. I don't want to misquote her because it seems like a very important
it's just something about especially for women.
Correct.
Preventative something, and I couldn't get what it meant either.
Yeah.
But I'm suggesting what we've added to the downtown, and I know you've seen this. Our community policing initiatives are now being copied across Ontario because we put a number of officers on the downtown streets to help prevent homeless issues or petty crime issues and stuff in the downtown. These are not police officers. These are people who come to us with medical and mental health training. And only work in the downtown. But boy, what an excellent method to use. Right? It lets our police officers do the jobs that police officers are supposed to do. And lets our community policing officers help us with homeless issues and mental health issues and interaction with local business people. So we're very pleased. And now other cities are coming to us and say, you did what? You took your police out of the downtown? No. We put our police back on fighting crime as they should be. And we put our community officers on to helping businesses make sure the streets are clear and that any issues they might have downtown are being handled in that way.
Okay. Now, yeah, okay. So, the exact question is, I just want to know why the support for women is lacking in St. Thomas victim services.
Okay. Well, I mean, all I can add is that we've moved victim services into the police station now. So the whole victim services program in St. Thomas is, if you're a victim, you're going to get help immediately because we'll know that you've been victimized, right? Okay. Look, there are some people who we need to help more. Obviously, there's victims of crime. There's not restitution anymore to the degree there was.
Yeah.
And even petty crime. If you're a downtown businessman and somebody blows out your front window, and your deductible is $500, you just ate $500. I mean, there's just no way around that.
Yeah.
So we're looking at how do we deal with that type of petty crime. We were getting considerably too much of it. The car break-ins or the rummaging through cars and garages and sheds. And so we went back to putting a crime unit in place to look at those. And we've seen a real reduction in that now. I will tell you, we have a bit of an increase in violent crime, but as we grow as a city, we don't want to say that's what will happen. We want to say we can prevent that.
Yeah.
But we've tried to put the biggest emphasis on the things that are bothering people the most. But victim services moving into the police station, I think, will be a huge, good first step in how victims are better treated.
Okay. Well, hey, amazing always, you're always truthful. You know what I mean? You're always...
I don't know everything.
You're always honest if you don't know.
Yeah.
And definitely, I would hope that you continue running until you can't run no more, until you physically cannot run no more.
Well, I walk fast. This running thing is a myth. No, I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I will continue to do it as long as I have the friends I have on council and the support I have there and the support in the community. I worked the home show 2 or 3 weekends ago.
Yeah,
I probably talked to 4,500 people.
Yeah.
And if my old polling days were any sort of accurate, we've got kind of an approval rating above 90% on what we're doing in our community. That's good. Yes, there are 10%. Look, there's people who don't believe that attracting industry to this community was a good thing. I get them. I get those messages, right? But I think for the general populace of our community, they say we're doing the right things. Taxes are fairly low. Crime is pretty low.
Correct.
We've put the right things in place from a policing point of view.
Yeah.
We continue to rebuild our roads and do all those things that bother people if you don't do them. Is there more? Sure. Bring it on. There's always more to do. And we can have a couple of counselors who want to say from time to time, yeah, we can do that. How much do you want your taxes to move? There are things we can do immediately, or there's things we can plan and plan for growth in the future.
Correct.
We need a mix.
Yes, we do. Cause and effect. And it always costs something. Yep. Are you willing to,
let us know if that's, if that's what you want. And there are, we talked before about how things have changed, generationally have changed.
Correct.
But we're at a point where there's considerably more people who think the government can solve all their problems.
Correct.
Right? And I'm still a personal responsibility person. Look, if I want to do something better for me, I'll go do it. But that, as the mayor, I can also say that on behalf of the city. But there are an awful lot of people who just said, but you didn't come rescue me.
Yeah.
Right? Well, okay, what did you do? How I don't know, you paraphrase John Kennedy.
Yeah.
What did you do for your city?
It's the victim mentality, and to me, that's like the worst mentality on the planet.
Well, it's not going to move you forward.
No, not at all.
And it's usually not going to solve your problems. Government can come to the rescue in severe issues, right?
Correct.
I've always said we need to have the most vibrant safety net we can possibly have for those that need it.
Correct.
Right? We need to be able to make sure nobody's going hungry, nobody's going unhoused, all those things. Right? But if we try to spread that so thin, there isn't enough to do the job. Right?
Absolutely, man.
So
I say, hey, if you want to change yourself, you have to initiate it. You know what I mean? If you knock on the front door and it's not opening, pause, go back door. You know what I mean? So that's exactly what I'm saying. And once individuals see the initiative, you trying, it's a lot easier because whatever you're asking for, you're doing it yourself. You know what I mean? So one thing I despise and I hate is individuals that always want handouts. But when you say, okay, you know what, it's going to take this amount of work to do, all of a sudden you don't see them no more, right? Like you were talking about.
Would you volunteer? Would you come help us with that?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
I often, somebody calls and says, we don't have Festival of Lights like we used to have.
Yeah.
And I went, great. I was looking for someone to chair that committee. Are you up?
Disappeared, right?
Yeah, never came.
Never came back. Exactly.
And sometimes I'm being a bit facetious about it, but it points out that we want you to do it. We want the city to do it.
Yep. Yep.
It takes volunteers to do most things that the city does right.
No, the city's at a point right now where it's like people have to take initiatives. It's not back in the days where it's like, they could be spoon-fed. Right now, if you want something to happen, if you ain't doing it, don't open your mouth.
Right. Come join us. Come help us. I'll always take advice if it comes with hands and feet. Right?
Correct.
You're gonna help us do the work too? Great. Right.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Joe, thank you very much once again. Saint T Podcast, Malichi Malay. And as always, love to have you back.
Whenever you say.
Okay.
When you think there's more to say, I'm happy. I talk professionally. Don't try this at home. No.
Okay, no doubt, man. No doubt. Joe, thank you so much,
Thank you.
boss.
Thank you.
Have a blessed day, man. Saint T Podcast, check it out.